Okay. All right. We'll see. Well, let's see where the night takes us, guys. All right.
Okay.
We're gonna fill it out. All right. Here we go. Hey, welcome to another episode of the Blackout Tales podcast. I'm your host, Rod, joined as always by my co-host,
Karen.
and we're live on a Sunday night, and it's a big day because we have a guest. We got some company over, y'all. We got my girl, Bossy Igby, who I didn't even pull. I should have just pulled up the what I read for this too much, but this is a regular show. I was just like, oh, it's just Bossy. But now I want to say like award. Listen, she's a best-selling New York Times.
She's doing it all.
She's a best vocalist alongside Anita Baker. You know, I just want to give it all the props, all the glory. What's going on, Bossy? How you doing? Oh, you're muted. Oh God, her mic is off, guys. All right, we're off to a rip-roaring start.
I said I don't hear anything.
This is some pure, this too much drama happening right now.
I said we could just hear.
Yeah, she was just talking. She was literally rapping along. There she is.
Okay.
Hey, Bossy, how you doing?
You hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Should I hold it like a podcast, bro?
You can. I mean, if you want to tell us about these females and how you shouldn't take them on dates.
Women be shopping. No.
She was like, listen, the problem with women is they have to eat food too. I don't understand.
Me either.
They don't grow vegetables. They don't slaughter cattle. Nothing. Useless.
When I go on a date, I'm ordering food. You should be getting water. Okay. I don't understand why we both got to eat.
As a man, I don't think that a woman who eats on the first date is really serious about the relationship.
She in here taking up space. How dare she take up the space that I'm in?
Because I'm gonna tell you right now, if she eating food on the first date, she gonna be eating food for the rest of your life. I'm telling you right now, player. Okay.
I mean, don't start them habits. I mean, once you start paying for food, what else you gonna pay for?
This is what I'm saying.
Bossy, it's so good to see you. It's been a while.
Too. I know. It's been a long time.
Yeah. I was gonna say I feel like we talk every day, but you know, for the audience, they haven't seen you on the show since Atlanta ended. So we, you know, for a lot of them, they're always asking about you on the main show and all this stuff. And this is kind of an impromptu situation. We was deep in the text. Y'all know how we do, saying everything that we can't say on the social medias. And if you're a real one, you do it too. So and we was talking about like the Chris Rock special and the social media reaction to it. And she was like, you know, Bossy watched it and she was like, are you gonna talk about on the podcast? I was like, I am. You want to hop on? Like, and she said, yeah. So that is how this episode came together. That's why Bossy is here. We want to talk about Selective Outrage, the Netflix special. I don't know how long this episode is going to be. Like it might be short because I don't, you know, we're going to see where the night takes us. Me and Bossy have watched it. Karen has not. So she's just gonna be emotionally supporting everybody.
I am. Y'all know me. Not trying to be funny. I don't give a fuck about not being in the loop. Y'all know me. I jumped in season 2 of Game of Thrones, and my black ass ain't went back since. So y'all know me.
Yeah. Well, you know, also, yeah, Karen has never needed to have an information to have an opinion. Okay.
I'm still gonna have an opinion. Who said I got to know all the facts? I'm like the rest of y'all niggas. I'm y'all just gonna hear hot takes off top rope. That's why I'm here.
So first of all, man, let's kind of get into like some background on it. Where were you the night Will Smith smacked Chris Rock? Okay, like what was going on with you, Karen?
Oh, what was going on with me? I'm gonna tell you the truth. I missed it because I didn't watch the award. You know, like you know, okay. I'm just, you know, y'all, you know, y'all wanted a hot take. That's a hot take for me. The only reason why I heard about it because all the other niggas was mad, and I kept seeing going up and down my time, and I was like, oh, niggas is mad. What happened? And so then, you know, I just went inquiring and you know, seen it and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, that's what happened. So that's how I found out. I it wasn't like something that I was actually sitting and consuming. It was like, oh shit.
And we did talk about it on the show for like a week or so, because felt like every day new news was dropping on the fact this nigga slapped somebody. It was like I don't know how breaking news was happening, but it really was. It would be like 2 days later, it's like, Will has apologized to Jada. Breaking news. We just interrupted Channel 11 to tell you live on the scene. Jaden Smith tweeted, "Oh, that's how we do." Then he deleted it. So we'll be back with an update in a few minutes.
We'll be back in a moment.
Bossy, what about you? How'd you like see the slap and receive it and all that stuff?
I watch the Oscars. I watch most of the awards, not all of them. But I watched the Oscars, and I didn't, because I watch on like a little bit of a delay. By the time I saw it, they'd already like kind of edited it out. So I didn't really understand what was happening. But what I did catch was Will yelling, "Keep my wife's name out of your motherfucking mouth." And so I didn't see the I heard that, and I'm not even gonna lie. I know that everybody on Twitter is acting like, well, niggas get slapped all the time or whatever. For me, niggas don't get slapped all the time around where I'm from. And but before I even saw the slaps, I didn't know what was going on. I saw like I said, I heard the thing, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm not gonna say triggered, but it upset me because I don't like that, like people yelling that way, and the look on Will's face, it scared me. And I was really like, what the fuck is going on? And I knew immediately it wasn't a bit. Just based on knowing what comedy looks like. I knew it wasn't a bit. So I knew that something intense had happened, and I couldn't figure out what it was. Hopped on Twitter, saw people talking about it, immediately found like the clip from Australia or whatever that had the whole thing. And I'm not gonna lie, it upset me. I don't like seeing stuff like that. I don't see it. I don't like seeing it on just like a basic level. I don't like seeing it on a national level. I don't like seeing it between two Black actors that are Black people that I enjoy to a certain extent. And then what upset me further was was like the general response to it. But I was shook. Like it bothered me. I was sick to my stomach. I'm not even gonna lie to you.
My first reaction, like with almost all things that are fucked up, is I laughed, because I can't help it. It's not on purpose. It's not even like it's the way that you laugh when someone tickles you, because you can't help it, even if you're like, don't touch me, right? So when I first saw it, I was like laughing hysterically. I was like, I couldn't honestly. I feel like me, you, Chris Rock, Jada, everybody in the crowd, everybody watching on TV, all of us took about 60 seconds after the slap to go, oh wait, Will Smith actually slapped Chris Rock. Yes. As you see it, it's like it's not real. It didn't happen. You're like, yeah, no, because Will Smith would never, and he's the Fresh Prince, and he's, like he's just as he's sitting in his chair yelling at Chris Rock, and then I'm like, I think Will Smith smacked Chris Rock. Yeah, like
and that was actually another part of it too, because if it was like, I can't even Dr. Dre or somebody that we know has a history of that, I don't think that I would have been, because like when you see a Will Smith do something like that, or even just yell like that, like just the yelling part, Will Smith, I was like, something is wrong with him. Like mental health Mary, I was like, is he having a breakdown? Like, what the fuck is happening here? I didn't immediately start thinking, oh, well, I wonder what Chris Rock did to deserve it.
When people were saying shit like, I can't believe Chris didn't whoop his ass, or I can't believe Chris didn't duck it, I was like, because he was thinking what we were thinking, which is, there's no way on earth this man would do something violent to me. He's Will Smith.
Yeah.
And then, of course,
sorry, one more time. So also, he has a learning disability that makes it difficult for him to read body cues. So that's another reason why.
Yeah, that's something that was quickly dismissed. Anytime that's brought up around Chris Rock, people are like, because people are kind of black and white, very simple. They want really crisp narratives, and so it's like, in order for Chris Rock to be the bully who deserved to get hit, he has to have no weaknesses, impediments, no extenuating circumstances. He has to be perfect. Like, he is the 6'8" bully that deserved to get punched. He's Goliath in this situation. So all right, so what a lot of people don't realize, or maybe not a lot, but what I was seeing on Twitter, this special has been planned for several years. Chris Rock did a special with Netflix called Tambourine. This is part of that deal. It was for multiple specials. So there were some people saying stuff like he got a special because Will Smith slapped him and stuff. That's not true.
Like he's not Chris fucking Rock.
Right.
He hasn't done like any real media about it. He hasn't. The only time he seemed to be doing stuff about it is working it out on stage, to which people have been reporting in the news like he's given updates or media appearances, but it really hasn't been that. It's kind of, so this is really his first foray into addressing it on stage. It seems like he doesn't want to use it in any other way. He doesn't want to do an interview about it. We'll get into all that stuff. So that's the main thing I wanted to start with there. The other part of it is I found the original Twitter response to the slap to be all over the place, right?
Yeah.
And I don't think it's changed much. Like, it's honestly like every time it comes back up, no matter what is happening, when Will Smith apologized, the special coming out, whatever side you were on, if you picked a side, people are literally just doing it again. like people are laying out like a lawyer's case for their point of view to not change at any rate. So I will, if you're a person that's like, I haven't seen the special and you just need to tap out, because we're going to definitely spoil some of the jokes, go ahead. I get it. If you've seen it, I'm willing to bet you feel like you felt before you saw it. Like it's just is not.
Yeah.
I haven't seen a single person go, actually, I didn't really fuck with him, and then I saw the special and I get it now. And I haven't seen a single person that said I was on his side, but after seeing the special, I actually can't be on his side anymore. So trust and believe, you already know how you feel. So you can determine if you want to listen to this or not. But Words Are Violence Twitter is very much trying to say violence is not violence, and that this man should be over it a year later, after having not really talked about it. So I find that to be interesting.
And get hit again. That's the part that really blows me. He should get hit again. Like, where are y'all from? My God.
Yeah, and also what I've realized too is just people in general, but when it comes online and everybody being black and white, particularly talking about the words, the words are violence, people, a lot of them, all jokes aside, deal with some of the most trauma that's unresolved. That's why they are streamed. That's why our words are violent, because, things may have happened to them and they might not have always been like a physical violence, but it's like, I have to make sure whatever happened to me is the most extreme, and everybody knows what happened to me is the worst thing ever. And so that's why anything that happens has to escalate to that point, when sometimes it's not justified on a 10. Sometimes, and I've always felt like this. Sometimes the way people respond to things, not understand is an internal thing, and I understand it's projecting. I don't get me wrong, I do understand it. But a lot of times we need to take ourselves out of the situation and just look at what happened. Like, these are the things that happened. Not my boyfriend did this to me, my husband did this to me, my mom. No. We're not talking about you. This did not happen to you. But everybody loves to respond. This is why people's opinions have not changed. This is why people's stances have not changed. Because a lot of times people have this unresolved shit in the background, this baggage, and they constantly carry it with them everywhere they go. And they have to always let you know that they have this baggage. And when you tell them, hey, you got baggage on you, they won't talk about everything else but the baggage on themselves. And so that's why anytime Chris Rock or Will Smith comes up, it don't even matter. Things could be unrelated to them, but they're going to go back to these fundamental things that they felt at that moment, and they refuse to let it go.
Yeah, I think also it's also just the fact that like a lot of the people that talk about this stuff on social media are talking about it because it's the thing of the day, but they're not really supporting stand-up. I've seen people make entire like fucking 100 post threads about this special, and I've never seen them talk about comedy before in my life. So it's like, it's not necessarily that people are experts on comedy, stand up, any of that. A lot of people are just experts on social media and whatever is trending. And so today it's this special, and so everyone's got a take on it. But Twitter, social media in general, skews towards staying in the house. Stand up happens in the club. You know, as a person that as a person that likes stand up, you know, especially before the pandemic, we would go out to the comedy club in Charlotte. You know, I've been to the comedy club here a couple times in New York, like, or 2 different comedy clubs. But my point being, like, when you're in there, there's a different environment than the one on social media. So social media has really been trying to paint this very like opposite world picture of Chris Rock has never been funny. No one likes him. He's anti-black. He's anti-black woman specifically. You know, and there's a bunch of evidence, quote unquote, to the contrary. You can look at the women he's put on in comedy, like Leslie Jones and Wanda Sykes. You know, having Janelle James open for him a couple years ago. You could literally just look at that. You know, even the like way that people have spun the good hair thing. I was alive when Good Hair came out.
Right.
So you can't trick me into being like, and everyone hated it and said he's an anti-black. No, every joke that was in there was a joke that people make within the community. Even the thing where people do the like, he's making jokes for white people, and it's like, you mean in Baltimore? When I look out in the crowd, and I see only black people in DC.
I didn't see a single white person.
Yeah,
white person.
Right. So there's like an offline reality that he's living in, where it's like, black people love me, black people support me. And then there's like the black Twitter version of life, which is everyone hates him. Everybody hates Chris. No one likes him. We just love all the people he put into our lives through his TV shows and his imprint, but we hate him specifically. So it's kind of become like a weird opposite world. And I felt like I was looking forward to this podcast because I don't want to talk about it to people online. Because to me, these motherfuckers sound crazy.
Yes.
You know, and that's not telling them they have to like or not like the special, but just the facts that they have feel very like Fox News facts. Like, remember how we all said when he made the blacks versus niggas, but we all hated him? Like, no, we kind of fucking loved it.
No,
it took a while for it to age, and then even he was like, yeah, I don't do that bit because it makes me feel uncomfortable. You know, people playing if I see the motherfucking clip with him and Louis C.K. one more goddamn time, like it was yesterday or some shit, like there's just so many ways where they're trying to like prove this case to fit this mold of him being like this really big coon. So I think that's what's been tripping me out about the online conversation and why I am happy to be here with y'all to talk about it. All right, the last thing before we get into the special. Netflix got their motherfucking money worth. God damn. Woo.
Listen.
Yeah, this is the first time they've ever done a live thing, and I guarantee you won't be the last. Like,
did you watch it live, Rod?
Yeah, I watched it live. Yeah.
Okay. I wasn't gonna watch it. I was not gonna watch it, but everybody that hates him was talking about it, and
the biggest promoters.
Exactly. That's what I said last night. I was like, why are you watching just to talk about how much you hate it and then turn around and be like, oh, it got so much ratings because cancel culture doesn't exist? No, it's because you were watching it. Like, what the fuck?
And like, y'all literally helped this shit be number one. I forgot it was coming on.
Me too.
I thought, like, I didn't know the time. Like, Chris Lambert had called me and was like asking me about like, oh, you gonna watch it tonight? And I was like, oh, it's on. Did I miss it? And he's like, no, it's coming on later. I said, okay, cool. Was just scrolling my phone, and just all these motherfuckers that hate him were just like, God damn, fuck Chris Rock. I ain't trying to bother. And live tweeting every comment from the pre-show to the stand-up to the after show. I was like, Netflix got y'all. This is why they be canceling the shit y'all like. Because they know you ain't going nowhere with Daddy Does It, okay?
and it would not be surprising with them seeing how they got a bunch of people who otherwise, not trying to funny, would not be on Netflix at this time to stop what they're doing, like live television, actually watched. So I guarantee you, y'all think y'all was angry about Dave Chappelle. Watch that next shit be motherfucking live like this one.
Oh,
you know, because it's something where they know, okay, y'all will watch this shit. So the fuck, like this is actually, if somebody's in there really, really smart, this is what they're going to do. And it's one of those things where It's funny how the liberal and the left consistently talk about how white people protest. White people protest, they buy jerseys and burn them and shit like that. Well, y'all do the motherfucking same thing. Shit y'all don't like, you consume it, you support it, and you spend your money. Hate us like that. Hate the black guy who tips like that. Fucking sign up for the motherfucking premium. Buy all the goddamn t-shirts. Protest me if that's the way we goddamn protesting then.
Let me ask you this. Now, Karen, I assume you weren't too excited about this special because you didn't watch it. And Bossy, I know you watched it later, but were you even intrigued about? Were you even planning on watching it if not for the response?
I absolutely was not, because the last special of his, I watched and I didn't like it, and I have a thing now where a lot of my favorite comedians or comedians that I like, the older, richer they get, the less funny they are to me. And so I just stay with the stuff that I do like. I mean, I'm going bar for bar with In Stakes is High because I'm still just listening to that. Like I don't know what they've done since then, but I'm only listening to that. So I watched Tambourine just to watch it. Was it Tambourine? Whatever.
Tambourine was his last one on Netflix.
Okay, maybe that's the one I watched. I feel like it was 2 things ago, but if that was the last one, then that's probably the one that I watched. So I wasn't planning on watching it. Even when I saw people talking about it, I wasn't planning on watching it up until today when I told you, I guess I'm going to watch it when I do laundry. It was, for me, what got me to watch it was me knowing, I was like, there's no possible way that was the joke. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's why I was like, okay, I need to watch it to know what the joke is, because you saying that he's judging people who don't wear shirts or whatever the fuck, and 2 years ago he did jiu-jitsu and he took his shirt off. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, that can't be a joke. So I wanted to go and watch and see what the jokes,
right?
Yeah, what the context was.
The same thing happens to me all the time. Like, there's albums I've only listened to and ended up liking because people were lying on them.
Yeah.
And it's weird because it serves 2 purposes. I don't think they mean to do it, but one, you're lying, so you're making me curious because you're making it trend and shit. Yeah. And then 2, you almost always end up making the bar so low that I end up having a great time.
Yes.
This happened with Drake's fucking whatever that type of album he put out that was like
the dance one.
The one that was just all vibes. That one was, that album pretty good. like they shitted on the album so hard, I was like, oh god. Then Beyonce album came out, that's like, this is what he was trying to do. I was like, oh damn, I guess it's whack. I went and listened, I'm like, this is the perfect like hop in the shower music. Like, this is just vibes, and he wasn't even trying to do more than that. And I was like, well shit, I guess I like this now. Can't tell nobody. But the thing with this is, I'm with you. Like, I am a fan of stand-up. I watch a lot of it on Netflix, all that stuff. I watched Gabriel Iglesias stand up recently.
I like this.
He's funny.
He's very funny, man. And Kevin Hart, very funny. There's people that Twitter hates, but there's a reason they fill up stadiums. You know what I mean? Like,
right. Like, talking about big stadiums too, like we talking about like baseball, football stadiums. They like,
Kevin Hart just, I'm pointing behind me. He's behind me. Mm-hmm. Kevin Hart just sold out a stadium in Cape Town, South Africa. Like,
right. For the most unfunny nigga in the world. But I watched Tambourine and similarly felt like it was mid. Like, it wasn't terrible, but it just reminded me of how old we're getting. I was like, oh, this is my age now. He's still making references to stuff that was in my formative years. Yeah. And he still kind of has like the same mentality and point of view. It's like an R&B artist that is just playing their hits, and this is the kind of music they make. And so that one felt that way to me. This one felt more inspired, and I'm assuming because of current events, it was more inspired. Like, some shit happened to him, and everybody wanted to see what happened, so it felt more inspired than Tambourine to me.
And when you think about it, one of the things, how do I come back? Oh, there I am. When you think about it, The problem, like I said before, that I have with a lot of our aging comedians is that their experiences that they had when they first started, they just can't possibly have anymore. So their perspective, their point of view, the things that they talk about, like they're just not relatable, and they're trying to make it relatable, but it's not. I think that he did a really good job of making that rich nigga, I'm rich, but he did a really good job of like,
this is the best version of I made it, and I'm black and I'm rich and I want my kids to be like black rich kids. Like this is the best version of that I've heard since probably, I think Marlon Wayans had some good stuff on it a while ago, but it's this. It was funny as shit this time.
Yeah, I agree. It's so, and I feel like if I say this, people go like, "Oh, it helped him," but I do think that it was a new experience, and he had to like tap into something else in order to get, what we saw. I thought it was fantastic. I mean, I'm not gonna say fantastic, but to me, it was a solid like 8.5 out of 10.
Yeah, I thought it was good too. Here's what I'll say too. I find it interesting the way we're reframing the Chris Rock legacy as, and maybe people just got tired of it, which is fine, but as if like we've discovered that he's misogynistic, we've discovered that he's offensive, we've discovered that he has respectability. We knew this. When we loved him, he also had this. It feels like going to a Mary J. Blige concert in 2023 and being like, when is this bitch gonna get over these men? It's like, fam, this is her lane. Even if she was happy in life, she finna sing about some niggas dogging her out. That's why you buy the ticket. You don't buy the ticket. Happy Mary done let a lot of people down. There's been a lot of happy albums where you're like, it wasn't hitting the same as when JoJo was dogging her ass out. So it feels like a weird sleight of hand to try to get however many specials in and be like, damn, this nigga still talking about cheating on women. Like, that's what he talks about. It wouldn't be genuine if he came out and was not talking about it. So
I have a question for you, because this is something that I was thinking about after I watched the special. What is the currency in that level of revisionist history? Because as I was watching and tweeting, I remembered that between Eddie and Chris, there was a gap. There were no black comedian superstars, and it was Chris Rock. Was it Bigger and Deffer, or is it and Bring the Pain? Those were huge, like absolutely fucking huge. Like we hadn't seen that. And we didn't even see it with Eddie because there was just no real capacity for it. There was no way for it to exist in that way. So it was Chris, and then Chris ushered in Dave and Kat and Kevin, like all of that like came after him. So I'm trying to understand what the currency is in pretending, not just him, because we see it all the time when they don't like somebody. Like, what do we get out of that? Because I feel like if a white writer or something was like completely erased Chris from a list of some sort. I mean, maybe not now, but at a point.
Well, I think if Rolling Stone came out with a list tomorrow and it said the top 25 stand-ups of all time and Chris Rock wasn't on it, you would see a lot of black people who were just saying he was never funny being like, this is a racist ass list and these white people don't know what they're talking about. But here's my thing. And I can't believe we're going this deep already, but this is what we do. Okay. But I think the currency in that shit is the same currency that is like QAnon shit. It's as an individual person and brand, how can I manipulate people with my own set of facts, and who will signal back to me that they're under my influence? Because saying something as ridiculous as Chris Rock was never funny, like he made all this money and had all this impact and has such a good standing within the community of black comedians specifically, it's saying that and then having someone say it back to you is more about you and wanting to say, look at me. When I tweet out such and such, these motherfuckers will believe anything, because there can't be any there's no reality to it. But if you're willing to be enthralled, and I've seen people do that, and I think it's like people are upset, but it's also still about them ultimately. It's what he said in the special about how the currency is attention. What's more, what gives you more attention than that?
That was a really good bit.
Yeah, and I agree. I do agree. The is that, and also for a lot of people, is nostalgia, and that's a piece of it because a lot of these people talking, depending on their age, was all live during that time. And
Right.
so, to them, they can kind of pick and choose and create their own realities. And that's what I realized about being online and dealing with people. People create their own realities, not the real reality, the reality in their own mind, the reality that they've made up, be it with their narcissism, be it with their um wherever their headspace is at the time, whatever it is, they've created their own reality and they go online and they project. And whatever their reality is, you have to accept that reality as a real reality. And if you
Mhm.
reject it, it's something wrong with you for rejecting the reality that they created, which is not
Yeah.
real.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah.
what I've realized, I cannot talk to somebody that has created a reality that is not a real reality
Yeah.
because when we start the conversation, we are not on the same playing level.
Yeah.
Right.
You are up in the moons and I'm on the earth. What are we talking about?
A couple of weeks ago, maybe a week ago, I tweeted the problem with online discourse is that somebody will get upset with you at what they either think you said or what they want you to have said. So now
Right.
you're trying to prove that you didn't say something that they've already concluded, and they're not even really telling you what they think you said, really. It's
Right.
just the implied that you said blah blah blah. So when you're trying to argue with somebody, or trying, no, not even argue, when you're trying to defend yourself against what somebody thinks, and then you try to defend yourself that you didn't think that thing, there's no possible way to win. So the more you argue, the more it looks like you're just being defensive,
Right.
because they've taken this righteous indignation, this moral superiority. So anything you say against that is
Right.
somehow on par with whatever evil they've decided that you are. There's no way to win an argument with that. And then what happens, and
Right.
I think Ashley Renee said this, what happens is that people watching the argument will react based on the comments and not ever go back to see what was actually said. So you'll
Yeah.
either get defeated and decide to like, fuck it, I'll be
Yes.
that,
I think.
or you just keep arguing and have to mute it or apologize. I've seen people apologize. I'm
Yeah.
like, what the fuck are you apologizing for? You
You weren't
didn't
even
do
wrong.
anything. Right.
Well, this is what's interesting is I think also the reason you get stuff like he was never funny, I never liked him, blah blah blah, is and this is something we've talked about on the show often. There is camaraderie within a shared hate community. People are bonding now over shared hate, and if you don't signal to that, you're either outcast from the group, or you deal with the admonishment, or you become part of the like people we hate. So I think people are scared of that. It's not, people are afraid to be real about some shit.
Yeah.
Like I've seen people that like the special who tentatively liked it. You see what I'm saying? Like they're like, you can see them tweeting about how funny it was, and then they wait to see like, is Black Twitter gonna cook him? Oh, it's bad. Delete. I hate, whatever. But the share hate community thing drives me up a wall because it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy where everything the person does must be bad. I've never seen some shit where like, no, I lie. I have seen it before. Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift gets bogarted by Kanye West on the stage, and Black people turned on her for years. It took like even past like some of the stuff that people find problematic with Kanye, they were still on some like fuck Taylor Swift, and it really took like Kanye going like MAGA to them for them to be like, okay, and of course Taylor Swift, who was a young very young girl, a woman at the time,
18.
It took her growing up into this woman that you almost can't deny. Like it's like she's picking the right side of every fucking thing, and she's outspoken about it, so you can't deny it. I feel like that's kind of low key what happened to Krista, where like, because we don't want to feel any empathy or sympathy for him being slapped, we have vilified the dude into like the word, he's Hitler with a mic, rather than just being like, I don't like him, or I didn't like his stand-up, or I didn't like that joke he made. It's turned into like, it's not even that. He specifically picked Baltimore to like take a shot at Jada, and he
He's
did it for
obsessed
white
with her.
people.
20 years ago, he turned him
Yeah.
down, and he's been holding this grudge ever since. Like,
Right.
what
And
kind
he
of
did it,
super
and
villain?
he did it for white people in a room full of Black people. Like it's, just weird stuff that doesn't necessarily line up neatly. But if you think everything he does is bad, you'll find a way to make everything he did into a bad thing. And I think that's a huge part of it.
Yes, and also to go back a little bit, also whenever people talk about these things, they have a script and they follow that script to the T. And anything that you put that's off that script, they reroute back to that script because they cannot defend and they don't have any logic or explanation for like them real hard questions where you'd be like, well, this don't make no sense. And what about this? And what about this? And so when you start hitting those people with facts, they go fuck your facts and they stick to the script.
Yeah, and I don't even want to engage them because I really do. I've seen enough quote unquote engagement, and I think like he said in the special, the engagement just counts as attention. The attention is currency. They don't actually care to actually engage with you. They don't really want to examine themselves or anything. That being said, I have felt it the other way too, right? There are some people who are so like pro Chris that it's like they hate Jada Pinkett Smith for some fucking reason. Like I have experienced that too. I don't want to like make this shit seem like it's one way. I find both sides to be
absolutely
terrible.
Absolutely.
Like it's extremes on both sides. Like it doesn't make sense. And if you're somebody that's in the middle, they act like you're a lunatic for quote unquote being in the middle. But most shit is gray.
Like even with the stuff where for years now with the Red Table Talk, which this is the irony here, but the years with the Red Table Talk, like so many people hated her, and they specifically hated her because of how it made Will look. Many of the same people who are now saying they have her back and they're talking bad about Chris Rock and bringing up her alopecia, these were the same people I saw call her a predator for the August Alsina thing.
Yo, that whole section, section that Chris did, I was like, y'all niggas is quiet because this is everything y'all were saying up until March 7th, 2022. Every single thing.
I've seen so many of those same people say they need to get a divorce. She better stop doing that show. She embarrassed him. She made him a cuck. Same people, Venn diagram, complete fucking circle, all filled in. It's not some outside group of people. Many of the same people did this shit, and I found it so interesting to see them last night suddenly ignore their own predator stuff that they said, ignore the grooming allegations to like it just feels like
he said thing. You're her son's friend. I was like, Jesus Christ. Like, I mean, it just like it laid it out. It just laid it out. And here's the thing too. When people talk about faults, I don't understand why there needs to be a fault. This man got slapped on national television, live national television. That's not his fault. It's not Jada's fault that he got slapped. The only person who did the thing was Will Smith.
Right.
Will Smith fucked up. And Will Smith, and here's another thing, we talk about this too. Will Smith knows he fucked up. He feels terrible. He still feels terrible. He apologized. He put it in context of his childhood and all that stuff. That's another thing. I'm going back and forth. I knew about Chris Rock's learning disability about a year or two before the thing happened. I also started because I follow Will Smith on YouTube when he started doing YouTube. So I knew the stuff that was in his book as well. So I knew that that he's fucked up. The Will that we know, he's fucked up. So the fact that he did this thing that people won't call fucked up, and he's still trying to process it and then apologize for it, knew that it was the wrong thing to do at the wrong time, knew all these different things that we say we want people to take responsibility and hold themselves accountable for. And you're like, no.
This is one of the reasons that I don't think online support counts as support. Right?
No, because it could change at the drop of a dime.
Yeah, it's free Britney, and then we're calling the cops on Britney Spears because we want to do a wellness check because she hadn't made a tweet in a while, And I think online support is shit like a man was clearly out of control. I saw a man that was in his own trauma when Will Smith hit Chris Rock. I saw a man that was he was living his worst nightmares. He was doing it.
Yeah.
And I said he'll never be able to truly recover from that because he spent his whole life trying to be seen a certain way. And then this other Will that he don't want the world to know hopped out real quick.
Yeah.
And he's afraid that people will, he's afraid of not only being that guy, he's afraid of people thinking he's that guy.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's like a double nightmare for him. And he's tried to do image rehab. He's apologized. If a motherfucker tell you I was wrong, I don't even know what the argument is to try to tell him, no, Chris Rock need to be slapped again. Like clearly it had a toll on this man. It fucked up his career. So
even when he went to accept the Oscar, this is something that he's wanted. Like he's been chasing this Oscar his entire career. He finally gets it. He gets on stage and he's still not in it. Like he's still not able to live. He's still trying to, here's the thing. He was still trying to get back the Will Smith that we all thought he was an hour before. He was still in this, like, for lack of a better, trauma response where he was like, I need them to like me again. How are they going to like me again? Let me say it's because Richard Williams protected his face. Like this was all lying. This was all somebody who knew that something that they'd done something that was out of character for them, that they've been afraid of becoming like their father their entire life. They've been running for this, and one moment completely destroyed that in his mind, and he's dealing with that. So how are you watching this man accept this award as completely, and we use the gif all the time, like completely just like shattered behind his eyes, and still be like, oh, it's all good, he did it for a noble reason, and we're supporting the thing. That's why you're supporting what's destroying him.
That's why I say it's not really support, right? Because if you love that man, right? If it was me, if somehow I get nominated for a fucking Emmy and I'm slapping some motherfucker on stage, anybody that knows me and loves me is gonna be in my phone, in my ear, like, what's wrong? What happened? I know you didn't want to do that. So what's going on? How can I help? Right. But online support is like, rooting for a football game. It's my team is winning. Like you're not even a real person. You're Will Smith TM to them. So I think that's interesting. I think, and we'll get to the Chris part of this too. Matter of fact, I think here's a good part to get into Chris. This special that last 10 minutes felt like Chris getting his lick back. That was the kid that, if you know anything about Chris Rock, very diminutive kid, picked on, grew up in a rough neighborhood. That was the kid that gets beat up by the bully. And then shit has happened to me before. And you get home and you're talking to your brother, or you're talking to your friend Damien, and you just like, man, I would have hit that. I should have said this, and then I should have did that. That's what last night felt to me a little like. The little boy was still in Chris, and he hasn't truly reconciled with it. Because it's only been a year. Like people are saying, it's been a year. Like that's a long time. Like it's only been a year. I think he still hasn't truly found like the healthiest place to talk about it, but at least he is talking about it on stage. But it was interesting to see like that side of him get to come out, because he clearly was like, I've been holding this in. He felt nervous. He felt nervous energy. Like when he fucked up the first joke going into that thing, I said, no, he's coming in hot. And I know people make mistakes. And, my friend called me this morning. He's like a huge, like on Chris Rock side guy, older black dude. And like, I don't want to say he's on like Chris Rock can do no wrong, but he's like very supportive of whatever Chris is saying and doing. And I was like, yeah, I think he was nervous. And he's like, no, comedians, it's live. I said, yeah, but you could feel like it meant something to him that he was finally about to do this in front of everybody.
It was adrenaline. It was like almost vibrating off of him. Like he was keyed up. And the thing, I want to go back to what you said about it only being a year. It's only been a year, but it's also been 40. Do you know what I mean? Like it's been 40 years of him having to deal with this. And I think I said it in the text, like when we juxtapose this with the thing that happened with Michael B. Jordan earlier, people understood that, right? So, but the difference between Michael B. Jordan's bullies and Chris Rock's bully is that Michael B. Jordan knows for facts and snacks that he turned out better than his bullies. Like he is out here winning. So he could be like, yeah, I was that corny kid, right? Like he can do that because he's got that, he's the persona he's developed for himself is like this sexiest man alive. All the girls want him, like da-da-da. He won. But I don't think Chris Rock feels like he's beat his bullies. I feel like something like this still happening to him. He's rich. He's famous. He's been famous for a really long time. He thought people loved him. And something like this, some high school shit happened to him and he's still not getting support. That's fucking with your head. It's just going to.
Also, it's not even just not getting support, right? It's he watched the people support the dude that hit him. Like he watched that dude get comforted by Black Hollywood during the show, during commercial breaks. He watched the man win an Oscar and give a speech, and people applaud him after an hour after he slapped this dude.
Standing ovation.
He watched. I mean, shit. If he has any indication of what's happening on social media, he watched a lot of people who are against violence and for prison abolition say he deserves to be slapped and worse shit should have happened to him and all this stuff. So I'm sure that.
Sorry,
I'll just say I'm sure that mentally it's been rough and he's low key held it in, except for his job, which is stand up. He only's been talking about it for his job. I don't know if he's been doing therapy or not, but it seems like this was pent up and that's why it came out that way too.
Yeah. Somebody in the chat said that he stepped on a lot of jokes. Like I noticed that there were jokes that he was kind of like could have landed harder if he hadn't kind of rushed towards it, because I think he was trying to get to the end. But what I also think that people aren't, I mean, I don't know if they are or they're not, but like he also watched his friends get beaten up for defending him or feeling bad for him. Like that, can you imagine what that feels like? Not only are people like, fuck you, but fuck anybody who says they like you. And that includes your friends of 40, 50 years. Your own fucking brother.
Yeah,
your
Wanda
brother
Sykes
can't defend you?
Wanda Sykes couldn't say seeing her friend and mentor get hit on stage at the Oscars was traumatic to her. People were trying to like fucking cancel Wanda Sykes for saying that because they've made their own reality. It just exists only on Twitter. It's not real. I knew it wasn't real when my mom called me the next day and she was basically upset about Will Smith. And that's when it kicked in. Was like, oh yeah, Twitter's not real. What the fuck was I thinking? That was crazy, right? That was crazy. Yeah, she's like, yeah, you know, it's ridiculous that he did that. And it's in this environment where you're getting celebrated and, you know, where black people are trying to be together and shit. And like, you know, that's the job of the people on stage. They picked on everybody in the fucking crowd. Like she was so on point, and that snapped me back to reality. And I haven't looked at it the same since. I've been like, yeah, Will was wrong. You don't have to like the joke, which was not a joke about alopecia, even though I've seen people turn it into a joke about alopecia. That was not what happened. It was he did not know she had alopecia. And it was
she was bald. He's an observational comic. He observed bald, and it was a bad joke. It was a dated joke, but it wasn't.
To me, it's no different than, you know, because he's vamping. Obviously, they didn't have anything in the script at the time, and he wasn't hosting. He was just a presenter, and they just be in your ear like, hey, we need 30 seconds. And so he's a comedian. They expect him to be able to do that shit. Now, I'm not saying like there could have been a bunch of subliminal subconscious shit going on. I'm not in that nigga's head like that. But to make it seem like this nigga walked on stage and like pointed at her head and said, "You got alopecia, bitch." That's what it has become on Twitter. And it was not that. It was not that.
It was not that at all. And also, I think and for me on the outside looking in, people act like this slap did not happen on the world stage. Like everybody in their mama seen it. All these niggas get mad. When you got slapped, it was in your neighborhood, in your backyard, and depending on your age, prior to the internet.
Yeah, your get over it was okay because you were allowed to get over it. This nigga, even after this special, he won't be allowed to get over it. We're gonna
No.
be asking him about this slap for the rest of his fucking
Yeah.
life.
Right, because it's one of those things where people underestimate, and I know we all do it because they're funny to me. The memes, the gifts, like all that shit, they're out there, y'all. And guess what? When you got smacked, guess what? Ain't no gifts about you, ain't no memes about you. Can't nobody consistently pull that up. Every time you go on your job interview, don't nobody be like, "And what about that slap?" You were allowed to process it. You were allowed to get over it. You were allowed to go through the proper shit. And he deserved the same right.
But even then,
one more thing. Go ahead.
Well, just real quick. Even then, how many times has something gone down on the timeline and somebody has a screenshot of 2010 when that person, remember when you said this to me? Like you were holding on to that for 14 years. So why can't this man say some shit a year after he gets slapped on national television
it's funny,
in front
right?
of the world?
Same people talking about taking the low road and being petty, talking about how he's not over it. It just depends on what side you want to be on. It determines people's morals. But what I was going to say also that had to suck for Chris Rock, everybody like Will Smith. So like even the people that are quote unquote on his side are on Will's side too. There's been a lot of like taking a picture with Chris Rock, like, "Hey, I love this brother." And then like 2 weeks later, you see him in a picture with Will Smith, like, "Love this brother. I hope these brothers can work it out." Because don't nobody really want to throw Will in the trash. Yeah. And another thing I thought was funny too, I talked about how people dogged out Jada, many of them being the same people that hate her now, that love her now, who need to defend her against Chris Rock. You know who else they dogged out? Will Smith. We talked about remember the whole black aunt, dark skinned Aunt Viv shit, and they were throwing him in the trash. He was never good, and then suddenly he's protecting a black woman. That was so interesting to me to see, like, just the short-term memory of people where they can't even, you could probably literally go through people and search their tweets and see when they were calling this man a no account ain't shit ass nigga. And now they're like, champion, he believes in black. He was just offending a black woman, even with him saying that's not what happened, and with Jada being like, I didn't want that. We're still he was just a champion. So all right, now let's talk about the special.
Well, can I ask you a question real quick though? Just did that change how you saw Will Smith? Not in like a fuck that nigga forever, but just like did it change something in how you saw him?
Yeah, because I never read the book. And it didn't, I don't want to say it changed how I saw him. I want to say, and I'm sure it's a nightmare for him, but it made me think he's a nigga from Philly. That's what it made me think. It's something that I had stopped thinking. I had started thinking Will Smith was from Hollywood. That's like how complete the image of Will Smith was. He just descended from the Hollywood mountain to make a movie and then went back up to the top of the mountain, and he would come down 2 to 3 times a year and just do Will Smith tears in a row, make me cry, and then go back up the mountain, right? And I said, oh, he's a real person. Because that's some real person shit. That's some like, I have trauma. I have been, and it started, everything made sense. The way that he's converted his trauma into talent, the way that his talent has been used to like kind of hide who he is afraid to be around everybody else, the way that he's needed to be loved and liked, like the way that he is a good boy, quote unquote, when it comes to like the way that he deals with like women and stuff like that. And even the way he deals with Jada, I feel like is very much good boy stuff. It's like, I want to be good. I want you to see me as good. And if that means sometimes you do stuff that other people would be like, I wouldn't deal with that. Well, I would, because I'm a good person and I understand you. And when they said their relationship would be forever, even if it was bad, I was like, oh, he's on that's some other level. Like, I need to be seen as good shit, And so it definitely made me look at him differently, but not in the throw him in the trash way. But I'm not a throw him in the trash kind of person, like a lot of people.
And same, I'm not a throw him in the trash type of person. And I did do the book. And so for me, what I've realized is this, and this year, into last year, I actually went to therapy, and so for the first time, and so for me, listening to the book and hearing about all that stuff and seeing that, like Roger said, I'm not a throw 'em away person either, but people have the wrong interpretation of therapy. Therapy is a continuation. Not I went to a session, I solved the problem is over. Nothing will ever trigger me. Nothing will ever make me feel bad again. These things, it is quote unquote the end. You are always something in progress, a process.
Yeah, you go to therapy so you won't slap a nigga. That's really what that's about.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
It's not so you won't feel triggered or so everybody in the world is gonna adapt to your trick. That's not even possible. Or
it's how you handle things.
Right, because I think Bossy may have said this, and once you said this, it stuck with me. You were saying that the world will not adapt to you. You have got to have the tools and learn how to adapt to the world. The world is not going to change. It's not going to coddle you. It's not going to pat you on the back and support your bullshit. You have got to be accountable and responsible for your own actions.
Oh my God, this is what you just made me realize, Karen. You know what it is? These people support Will slapping Chris because it is how they approach other people's stand-up.
Yes.
This is how they want this. Like, and it's been happening for years where they've been taking stand-up out of context, acting like it's a fucking TED talk, like it's real, like it's no jokes. And they always kind of have this wish casting of like, these people should be punished for having funny thoughts because nothing is funny ever unless I decide so. And you know what? They transpose themselves on the Will. Will doesn't even want this. But they have transposed themselves onto him. And there's something to that. I haven't fully, you just made me think of it. So I don't have it fully fleshed out yet. But there is something there in that it is, he was our symbol of hope of, we are hurting comedians because they hurt our feelings because our trauma is more important than their art. Our trauma is more important than their trauma. They use their trauma to do. But you know what? To supersede that, the world should change due to my trauma. So he should know that Will is traumatized by someone talking about his wife. And even if you don't know about the alopecia stuff, you should never even make a joke on anybody in the audience because what if they have a hidden trauma like I do and they just need to attack your ass, and they should be justified in attacking you. They're right. There should be no punishments. Everyone should support them attacking you because that is how they attack comedy. It has been that way for literally since Twitter began. They take stand up and they're like, if you look at it in the context of it's not a joke, let me tell you.
Yes, and I was like,
let me tell you why this person deserves to be hurt.
And it doesn't make any sense. And I remember Bossy saying that. I don't remember if it was on a regular show or this too much. And when she said that, something clicked in me, and it made me view things. And it made me view things very differently from that perspective. And I was like, that makes sense. And if more people looked at it like that, they would be aware and they would actually critically think about their actions before they do things.
But that's also part of it too, because like I was talking about earlier, this whole week I was talking about the anxiety to depression pipeline, because I went from like high anxiety to like this depression over the last couple of days. And I was talking about the fact that this is my condition. You know what I mean? This is a permanent condition for me. What changes is how I approach it. What changes is me saying, oh, this is what happened. I was high anxiety for this reason. It has a name. And of course, because this is what usually happens, the next thing happens. So I need to tell somebody, I need to call my doctor. I need to figure out if my meds are a problem. I need to lay low for a little bit. I need to cancel, like all these different things that I do now because of the mindfulness training that I have. Right. Mindfulness training doesn't mean that I'm cured now. And I think that a lot of people don't ever approach their quote unquote traumas. And I say quote unquote traumas because it runs the gamut. your mom yelled at you when you were 6, or you were abused. Like, though, everybody treats them all on the same scale, and I think that there's a disservice to both parts of that, because it makes it seem as though it is impossible to heal. And I think that that's one of the biggest problems I have with Twitter, is that healing is not part of the conversation. Wellness is not part of the conversation. What happens after you stated the trauma? You've told me countless times what your trauma is, but you've never told me what happens next. What have you done since then? What is the next step? How are you going to go through life with this? Because you can't stay on Twitter controlling how everybody responds to you, because that's not how it works. That's why they do that on Twitter. They try to apply it into real life, and they come running back to Twitter about how abusive their boss is because they didn't let them not show up for work for 2 months without calling in. And it's like, and people are like, oh, I'm so sorry that happened to you. They should understand. No, they shouldn't. You should figure out how to live in the fucking world. I'm sorry. Yes, but you should.
But what's a better reality than one you create yourself, right? Like it's got to be alluring to them to come back to a place where you can say Chris Rock was never funny, and then a bunch of people chime in and go, yeah. And then because real world, you couldn't go into a room full of people and say that and have them go, yeah. You're gonna have a bunch of people be like, the fuck you talking about? So let me run back to Twitter, and that's that way for a lot of shit, not just this stand-up special. But I do want to get into the special a little bit.
Okay, I'm about to say one more thing before we get into it. You're just making me think about Abasi, how, and for the people that actually talk about the healing part of it, because you do have a subsection of those people that talk about it, they don't mean it. Because when people do it offline, like they actually heal, they actually do all of the work offline, then they demand that they see it. And they act like, if I didn't see it, if you didn't post, tweet, Facebook, Instagram, or TikTok it didn't exist.
Well, that's because it's content.
Correct.
Yeah.
So you don't mean it.
They want healing content. They want it's the people that are like, I miss Megan Thee Stallion. I'm like, you don't miss her, you miss content.
Yes.
Because if someone told you being online is literally making me depressed, I have to get offline because niggas are harassing me and saying I deserve to be shot, and then I'm lying. And so the person goes offline and your first thought is, I miss seeing her twerk. Then you don't really, that's not really missing a person. That's missing some content.
Yeah. You're missing the ability to consume a human being endlessly.
Yes.
And call it support. But just real quick, and then we'll get into the special, I swear. One of the things, like, it didn't change my opinion of Will, but it confirmed something that I had wondered. Ever since he started like being on social media, I was like, this nigga, toxic positivity. Like, there's something really unsettling about the method in which he chooses to be a positive person. It doesn't feel authentic. And then when he started talking about his book and his life, I was like, oh, there it is. That's where it is. So for me, it just confirmed what I was not worried about, but what I sort of picked up on before, where it's like, this is you're not healing. These are all platitudes. These are all like learning how to circumvent feelings by pretending you don't feel them, or pretending you feel something higher. Like that whole, well, I learned that our relationship, I don't have to be happy in it or making you happy because I'm not put up. Like, what are you talking about? Like, you low key you kind of don't want your spouse to be unhappy. Like, that's normal. That's okay to feel like you don't want them to be unhappy.
Yeah. I think, I do feel like, something about his content online has always felt a little like clean almost. But even from the days when he was rapping and he didn't curse, like, I just always felt like, he's had to be a character for us. Because I think he was a little bit afraid of what the real him how it would be received. And I mean, it's a gamble that paid off, to be honest. It's hard to argue with this because the nigga is so goddamn rich and famous. But at the same time, like, I think even he recognizes he don't want support for him doing some foul shit like that. And people offering that support, it's not about him, it's about them. So with this special, first thing I'll say is I love this commentary about the whole like attention is the new like currency and stuff. I thought that was really dope. I think his joke about abortion was so fucking scary. I didn't know where he was taking it. I was scared.
I was like, what the fuck is happening?
Like that shit. I thought, because you know he's been doing some shows with Chappelle and shit. I said, yo, please don't let this nigga Chappelle rub off on Chris Rock to the point where like he's trying to get canceled, quote unquote, and he's doing the cancel culture bit. And he didn't, to be fair. Like, I'm glad he didn't. But like the joke was so masterful with the abortion joke. The way that he did the like
good.
I think you are killing the baby, and I think you should be able to kill a baby. And people like, he lost the audience, and I said, oh shit. I mean, this is live, bro. Because I know the Will Smith part is coming. Yeah. So I'm like, this is live. If you lose the audience halfway through, you can't land the plane, because everyone needs to be on your side for the last bit. And if they stopped liking you 20 minutes in, it's gonna be an awkward last segment. But the way he got them back with the like, and I think you should be able to kill a baby. And I'm not talking about abortion. I'm talking about up till 4 years old. I'm not talking first trimester. I'm talking about first semester.
Oh my God. I was giggling throughout this whole thing. Like, I was like, that was such a good joke. And again, this is what I was talking about, where it's like people were like, oh, he must be hanging out with Joe Rogan. And I was like, what? How can he possibly? And then I was like, these are the jokes that they think are like, these are actual jokes. And the thing that's so masterful to me about the special, and I really wish it wasn't live. I'll be honest with you. I wish it wasn't live, because I wanted him to like hit some of these things a bit, because there were a lot of like the repetition, that was missed. The callbacks. Oh my God. The callbacks were so fucking good.
Yeah. The I don't need beef with another rapper thing was
good.
So good.
Catch that. Oh, that was so good.
The tag to the joke that was the tag to the joke about the kids, where he's like, finish watching Stranger Things, but then we gotta go to the clinic. So dark was so funny. I was worried also when he started getting into like the OJ stuff, just because I knew people were gonna hate on it, because he's talked about it in almost every stand-up. He's just fascinated by the OJ trial, and I was like, these niggas gonna hate this. And then when he got into the Caitlyn Jenner stuff, I was like, oh, where's this going? But he actually landed that well too. Like, and the thing is, so this is the point I wanted to make too early. I forgot to say it, but I love Black people. I love old Black men too. And by saying I love them, I don't mean like they're perfect. I excuse everything they do or da. I'm just saying like there's a certain type of love for an old nigga, that, and old Black women too, to be honest with you, where I know them, they in my family, they ain't gonna make it to the full progressive shit that we say on Twitter and on this podcast.
Yeah, and they never
will. They got good hearts, and they will make it close enough. And I mean close enough as in like I'll be like, I am pro marriage equality, and my uncle will be like, I don't care if two dudes want to get married, and I'm like, you know what, close enough for you.
Yes.
You ain't gonna make it over to this other hill, but you might not get the right words and the right language, you know, but I have an affection for you, because one, you're keeping it real, but then two, you're on the right side. You're just not as far along the right side as I am. And I'm sure there's some nigga that's even more. I'm gonna be an old nigga one day where somebody's more progressive than me, and I ain't gonna truly understand it. And I'm gonna be like, well, shit, if you say so, and that's as close as they're gonna get from me, because I'm not gonna be able to truly get it.
It's happening now. I'm like, all right.
I guess so.
I'm so not like,
right. Not gonna stand in your way at all.
Well, he ended the joke and said, nigga, that woman is your daddy. I was like, bro. So like, it was just so funny and ridiculous. And obviously for jokes, I love the stuff about his daughter, Lola. And
the callback with her biting. Oh
yes. And what did you think about because I believed him
Mhm.
when he was like, I mean, I know he's worked it out, but when he said, I never told them this story, she is hearing that I got her kicked out of school to teach her a lesson for the first time ever with y'all tonight. I was like,
I
yo.
was like, is he joking? But he was he looked dead in the camera and was like, you're finding this, like he was fucking serious. But even then, like it was like, that's so black dad. That's so black dad that I raised y'all without enough grit and I need to figure out how to change that. That was so legit.
You said I might be rich but I identify as poor. And
yeah. Oh.
And that was like, that was the most like poor nigga shit I've ever heard, where he was like, he got his daughter kicked out of his expensive school to teach her a lesson, even though he knew not to do, like, even though he low-key didn't want to do it, you know what I'm saying? But like her being so unrepentant.
Yes, when he said she was giggling with her white friends, I was like, that is so black.
Like, because like
you laughing?
It made so much sense because I'm like, because you see this all the time, but no one really articulates it like this on stage. But it's like, my job is to make sure this child grows up to be the kind of child I fucking hated. You know,
yeah.
like I would be less than a good dad. Because he was like, no, he said, you know, rich people, black people get rich and they be like, I want my kid to struggle. It's like, not me. No, I want my kid to do great. But the consequences of them doing great is the spoiled entitlement that comes with that. And the way he addressed it, it was just so funny. And it's that like that refrain of like, touche, nigga, touche. Like,
but you know what? Also, that joke to me was like the natural progression of his "keep your daughter off the pole" joke.
Yes,
like that. That's the natural progression of all those jokes that he's told before. And I feel like a lot of the jokes in the special, I could link to older stand-up, and this is the logical progression for somebody
so
who's
are you saying if Mary J. Blige is singing a sad song in 2023, it's probably a progression of the fact she's been singing sad songs for 30 years? Is that what you're saying, Bossy?
And I'm gonna be here for it.
I don't know. I feel like people don't typically ever change ever. So I don't know if that's what
like it was so, like I saw people using that like it was some sort of incriminating evidence. I was like, so you mean every stand-up special from any comedian has been in the game? Ain't nobody ever dropped a stand-up special that had no relationship to other material. We're only following their thought process. They didn't become a new person. Honestly, don't even know what that would look like if a motherfucker came out with a stand-up special and it was like, I got all different views and opinions.
It's like, okay, where's this ride gonna go?
Yeah, like it anyway. But yeah, that bit,
the thing with his mom. The thing with his mom.
Oh, yes.
Oh my God. I'd heard that story before. I think he told it on Desus and Mero. I think he told it on something, like the thing about his mom and the dentist, but making it go full circle about her. Oh my God. Am I getting emotional? What the fuck? But making it go full circle about her going to Paris and like sitting with her granddaughter, like that. That was beautiful. That was beautiful.
Yeah. And that's something he was able to make happen because he loves black women. Also, I thought it was so funny, the joke about the Kardashians and how because he got OJ off, God cursed him.
That was so good. I had to. That's when I messaged you. That's when I was like, no, fuck everybody. This shit is funny. That's when I messaged you because I was like, this is fucking inspired. It was so good. He took a joke that we all make and then he just like fine-tuned it. Like he made it. Oh, it was so good.
He was like, and not just he said not just any niggas. He was like crazy niggas. basketball niggas with drug habits. Like it was so good.
Oh no.
Oh my God, man. Like honest to God, in real time, just watching Twitter be mad. I was just like, how do you even go here? Oh my God. And then of course, like get into like the Will Smith stuff. Oh no, before that, Meghan Markle stuff. So I think he roasted. I think he roasted the shit out of the first family, whatever the fuck they're called over there.
Royal family.
First family.
By the way, this is why I will forever be on Meghan Markle's side. I know it's probably unfair because I'm using completely my anecdotal upbringing and shit. I do not care and did not know shit about the royal family growing up. I'm sorry.
No.
But it wasn't a thing in my house. I'm Black American.
Yeah.
We have no connection to them. Our city is named Charlotte. I didn't even know there was a Queen Charlotte until high school or something.
Like,
I didn't know it until we took one of them bus tours and they was like, yeah. I was like, oh, that's why we named Charlotte. Nice to know.
And I'm not even knocking y'all. Like, if you grew up into that shit, I remember when Tupac died and Biggie died, and I also remember Princess died, but I was at a HBCU. People was crying for Tupac and Biggie. It just wasn't like that for Princess Die where I was at. So I'm gonna always end up kind of being on her side because her main conceit is I didn't know it was this bad. And guess what, sis? I didn't either.
Right? And everybody like, you should have known. Well, bitch, how do I know? I'm not raised in this. This is not America. Y'all know we're narcissists over here. We don't care about the rest of the world.
Oh, that's true. That's very true.
Chris found the humor in it though.
Yeah.
Which is, even if you didn't know, you could have known.
Yeah.
And that's what it was funny. Like, you could have Googled these niggas and read their raps and found out it's pretty bad.
And here's the thing. I'm pro the sexes or whatever their names are. Mm-hmm. I'm pro Harry and Meghan, but I also call bullshit on her not Googling him when she met him. A whole prince of not even like a prince of like some like tiny country between Norway and Finland, but like the UK. Like you Googled, but that's fine. I didn't like how he entered the joke, but I liked where he ended up. I thought the way that he roasted the royal family, that was good. He just needed her as an entrance. Honestly, he just needed her to enter the joke because he can't just be talking. He can't just be like, and another thing.
I forget what the refrain was, but I remember it being kind of fucked up and targeting her, like, you know, like, bitch, you didn't look it up or something, whatever it was.
Yeah, there was this thing. I didn't love that, but I did think that the royal family jokes were very, very funny and very on time.
And the dating an older woman versus dating a younger woman was also a progression of things he said in the past, but goddamn, that was funny. Like, and you know what's so crazy is like, y'all are telling me because is misogynistic, y'all aren't laughing. Y'all didn't think New Pussy was great and classic on Bigger and Blacker, nigga. Everyone I knew that bit by heart. That like, New Pussy can't cook. You know, like everyone I knew was like, that's the truth. That's why you don't cheat, because you gonna get with New Pussy and find out your wife, you should have stayed with your wife. And so he's still making those old school type of jokes. I honestly did not know people thought that wasn't funny anymore. It's still funny to me. I was laughing like shit at, you get a young woman, you get a pair of shoes and she'll model the shoes for you. It's like you get an older woman, she needs you to help replace the roof on her house.
The demands are different.
He said you need to help fix her car, and it's always a nice car but the wrong model.
The only thing that made me a little uncomfortable, because he told that joke right after the stuff about his daughter. So when he was like, "You like my shoes, Daddy?" I was like, "Oh, no, it's too close together, too close together." But outside of that, I the thing is, again, he approached the young woman, older man thing in a way that made sense. Like, all these other comedians have tried these jokes, I feel.
They don't work.
They don't work, and he figured out a way to make them work.
It's whole like I'll eat somebody ass tonight, but I won't hold their hand because holding hands is too intimate.
Yes. I can't remember everybody I slept with, but I remember every woman whose hand I held.
Yeah, and like I think the other part is, so this is a part that just social media fundamentally does not accept or understand about stand-up comedy. And this is just how comedians are built. And I don't give a fuck who you like. They're all this way. They don't have fun or feel like they did the job unless they pull right up to the line. Mm-hmm. And that's what Chris was doing with these bits. He pulls right up to the line of where you're going to jump off. And then he reels you back in with like, oh, this is more of a joke about him. Or this is more of a joke about how silly this is. That's what the abortion joke was. That's what the older woman versus a young woman was. Even the Meghan Markle thing, he definitely wants you to feel like a protective, like, hey, this nigga talking about Meghan Markle, why are you doing it? And then pull you back in with, oh, he's roasting the royal family. Of course they're racist, and they're like the Harlem Globetrotters of racism. They're the worst, you know. Yeah. So I thought oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh no, I was just saying the thing with him having paid off more loans than Biden. I thought that was hilarious. I do have a question though.
Yeah.
And all the things that I've said previously before we start talking about that, I feel like it could be on site with Draymond Green. Like, do they have a history? Are they friends? Like, if Draymond Green like hauled up and slapped him, I'd be like, why did you do that? Like, you know what I mean? Like, not on television, all the other stuff still applies. But I was like, are y'all friends? I hope y'all friends or something.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, because he kept going to Steph. He was like Steph Curry versus Draymond Green. Then he went to Draymond Green example again, and how hard the kid's life is gonna be. I think it was just like,
and then how dirty his pillows were. Like, come on, like what was happening there?
Yeah, he said something like, if Draymond Green snuck up behind, he sneak up on everybody. Like, it was out of nowhere. I don't know. Hopefully Draymond laughs at it, because Draymond talks way too much shit about other people to be out here getting offended, to be, in my opinion.
I hope he's all right, because I was like, what is happening? Stop doing that. I'm concerned.
Yeah. And then of course, I think we covered most of the special, the Will Smith stuff. So the Will Smith stuff, the only thing I'll say is, because he waited a year to do it, other people have done so much of this material that very little of it was new. I think the tease of it is that he was finally doing it, because I've heard almost every one of those versions of those jokes before, from the whole, like, you know, Will Smith's a bitch, Will Smith, and actually I love the way he did the Will Smith is a bitch bit. He never says it. He's always like, people were saying Will Smith's a bitch. Charlamagne called him a bitch. So it's kind of and after like 8 bitches, you're like, yo, he's calling Will Smith a bitch. Like, he ain't saying it, but he kind of saying it. And then at one point, he calls Jada a bitch. Now, whether it's offhanded or on purpose, it doesn't really matter. I think that joint kind of was like that felt a little like
that. I gasped
on her.
I gasped.
Yeah. And I think that's where that anger comes from, because he's still mad that, like, she didn't want him to host the Oscars because Will didn't get nominated for concussion, which is a real thing, which we talked about when this first thing popped off.
Yeah.
And he roasted her at the Oscars for that. And I remember being like, I didn't like it then, to be honest. I watched that and was like, well, I think you're just out of pocket right now. Like, this room full of white people laughing at this, even though it is silly and very selfish and like transparently so, you know, like, I get that it is funny. I'm not telling you it's not, but like, the optics of it definitely made me feel away, not to get all respectability, but I was like, oh God, man, I wish he didn't do this. And especially after anticipating him like roasting the Oscars, which is what everyone thought was going to happen.
Yeah.
Him spending some time roasting her more than the being with vitriol more than the Oscars, he lost me there. And so he clearly was really mad about that in general. And so using that to be like, you know, this bitch, and he only did it once, but it just felt like it felt different than him doing the Will Smith bitch stuff, or, you know, even it felt even different than him pointing out like she slept with her son's friend and all that. Like, it just felt like he was still mad. And I think my general conceit with the special is he is still so obsessed with not being seen as weak.
Yeah.
That he turned this special into like, I think there's a better special here that could have been had if he could have dealt with the fact that I want to be vulnerable to y'all a little bit and say, like, I was hurt. I was hurt by my friends trying to pick both sides. I was hurt at people saying I hate my people and that I hate black women. I was hurt that people thought I knew she had alopecia when I clearly fucking didn't.
Yeah.
I
was hurt that people think I'm so pathetic that it's because she turned me down 20 years ago. And
I would have loved to hear that, because I think the vulnerability allows him even more of an outlet at the end, and people are more on your side. But because he was so obsessed with, like, I ate that punch like Pacquiao because I'm not a victim, these other people are victims, they go on Oprah and they do this. I'm like, bro, you're on a stage in 129 countries live, getting attention that you claim everybody wants, and now you're telling us your story. This is it's okay that this happened to you. You didn't deserve it. You weren't wrong for it. There's no wrong way to handle it.
Okay, this is why we're friends, Rod, because towards the end, even though I gasped at the bitch, I wondered if he meant to say that. I wondered if it was just like, he just seemed like adrenaline. Like, he just seemed like really keyed up. Like, this is the part where I get to prove that I'm, whatever. And he just seemed like, when he fumbled the joke, I was like, oh, fuck. Because I knew then that this part was more difficult for him than the rest of the parts. And I wondered how it was going to come off. I still think he did a good job and he landed it well for that moment. But I think that there's something to be, I think that it would be difficult for him right now to be vulnerable when people are still on the attack when it comes to him. And I think that he was talking to us like, you can think I'm whatever, but I'm this, even though I'm not fully convinced that I feel this way about myself. I think that when he was starting on the whole, like, I'm little and like all of that, I thought that was really good. And I thought that he was going to like lead more into like, and I've been little my whole life or something like that. But I think
you can only really do it if you've dealt with it mentally, right? Like I wanted him to do something that I'm not sure he's even ready or capable of doing right now.
No.
So I don't want to say it like I'm rewriting his stand-up special. I feel like there's just a better special a year from now and 2 years from now and 3, because to me it felt a little bit like a lie. This whole like, and I've been unaffected by this thing. It hurt me physically, but that's it. Like, when he said he had Summertime ringing in his head and like, drum please. Like that's very funny. I think he should have said eardrums please, but that's very funny. But I wanted him to actually say how he really felt. And
did you see moments? I wonder if there were two versions and he just kept deferring just based on adrenaline or based on like just still not being ready. He deferred to the other jokes because there were a couple of times when he was talking about how much he loved Will Smith and how much he looked up to him and all this stuff. I was like, there's a right that he could take where it leads into that, but he went left.
And I do like, I don't think there's necessarily versions of it. Like, I know he's been working stuff out on stage, but I don't, just from the stuff I've heard, I don't think he's gotten to that part. And a lot of his support has been very toxic support. Like, it's been a lot of like, Jada, that's because that bald bitch, Jada Pinkett Smith. It's been a lot of stuff that I don't even think he would necessarily say. But people have been saying it like on his behalf. And I think a similar thing happened with Kevin Hart and his stand-up when he lost that Oscars thing or whatever. And then the people that had his back went further than he goes. Like, he doesn't do those type of jokes, but you on stage saying like super wild shit, you know what I'm saying? Like, on his behalf. And I do wonder if that environment is one where he you know what? Will Smith TM, he's Chris Rock TM to a lot of people. And I feel like he felt a pressure, and it's all projection on my part, but it felt like there was a pressure there to be Chris Rock TM. I'm bigger, I'm above it, I'm making jokes about it. It doesn't hurt me at all. I'm not really truly affected. And to me, there's a falsehood there to where I'm like, this isn't the special that would have been a game changer for me. It's still good. Don't get me wrong. I laugh like shit. But this isn't like one of those moments where I'm like, yo, Chris used his art to transcend everything. He grasped this picture that no one else could see, but from his perspective, he gave us some shit that no one else could do, because most of the jokes in that segment were jokes I had heard just other people make about it. And I was like, okay, that's where he's at right now. And and I think the final joke didn't land the way he probably wanted it to land, even though I like I said, and me and Bossy, I think we're on the same page. There's a level of nerves I was feeling off of him that just, it felt like he almost rushed to the end. But when he was like, because my parents told me not to fight in front of white people, he dropped the mic, and I was like, yeah, that bar is not gonna hit the way you think it's gonna hit.
But do you know what I think that was? I think that was the only way he felt at the moment he could respond to "you're a coon" shit, or
well, you know what he was responding to, Bossy? Why didn't you fight him?
Why didn't you fight him?
He's still there. He's still like I said, he's still in his mind is thinking, am I a bitch?
Should I have hit him?
Am I a bitch? This man hit me, and I watched every fucking man on the planet tell me how they would have whooped his ass.
Yeah.
So now I gotta explain. It felt more like, let me explain to y'all. Why what happened to me. One, I'm not a victim, and two, why I didn't fight him back. And it's like, if that's what you went into this trying to prove, I feel like you still haven't gotten to the place that the great art is born from, which is like a kind of introspection and acceptance of like what happened, why it happened, and what is universal about it. Because you know what? Everybody has been bitched out in public, guys. Everybody has been embarrassed by someone. Everybody's been bullied. There's a universality to that he could have reached, that I think, obviously the haters aside, they would never concede in. But a lot of people would have been like, oh, okay, bro, I feel you.
I think he's just outside of "it's not your fault." I think he's just outside of that, and he's not any further than that. And I think that a lot of it was him reassuring himself by putting on, I'm not a victim, I didn't da-da-da-da, and it's not for us, it's for him. And I wish that he would have, do you think it's possible for him to do what you said later? Or are people going to be like, fuck this nigga, why are you still talking about it? Because I would like to, I think he would have to do it like Neil Brennan's 3 Mics. It would have to be like a whole thing about his life being bullied, as opposed to like a stand up about other things. It would have to be specifically about that for him to be able to loop that in. And I think that does take a couple of years of therapy. And I also, there's something else I wanted to say about I don't know how to say this, but I'm just going to say it. If you take it wrong, then you heard me wrong. I heard a lot of good previous Dave Chappelle in some of the way that he approached it. Not the Dave Chappelle that showed up the last couple of years, but like the Dave Chappelle from before, that level of I don't even know how to put it, but like I just kept thinking about Dave a couple of times, especially towards the end. And I don't know whether maybe this was born out of conversations with him because they spent a lot of time together, or him attempting to process it with his friend Dave. And this is some of the things that his friend Dave has said. But I heard some Dave in there, old Dave, not current Dave. I heard some
I
Dave
can see that. I think another thing though I will say stuck out to me, because he came in so keyed up. There are moments where it almost feels like a person doing a Chris Rock impression at moments. Like with the walking and the like repeating, like because his energy was so high. Like, I'm not telling y'all what to do, but it just take 5 minutes if you really want to see what I'm talking about. Watch Tambourine for like 5 or 10 minutes, then watch this special. This felt like I think he even made a joke at the front about like getting to town and looking for the cocaine dealer. I was like, because he felt like he was on cocaine a little. Like he was like,
that joke. I was like. Are we inventing things here? Like, what's happening?
I'm like, yo, this is, I didn't know
that came out of nowhere because he was like coke. He doesn't have jokes about cocaine. Right. It's not like Mitch Hedberg or somebody who's like, I does drugs.
Is this Chris Rock Is this Chris
Yeah.
Rock or Pookie? Like, who is this for real?
Say what's happening, and to kind of jump in something, and I will always say this, and I put like this, like they say, you go 10 toes down. I'm gonna go 10 toes down for this. A lot of people, they jump up and say they would have hit him. You ain't about that life, because I'm telling you right now, all y'all niggas will have criminal records, and none of y'all want to be, none of y'all want criminal records. All y'all want to go gallivant. You want your passports and want to go around this country free. So for me, I put my 10 toes down and go, bitches, you're lying.
Yeah.
Because people that are about that life have criminal records.
It's also easy for people to say that because ain't nobody gonna come slap them at the Oscars. Like it's never gonna happen. So of course you would have pulled out your gun and killed everybody in sight. Like, sure, Superman. The last thing I want to talk about is, what do you think about the after show? Or did you even get to see the after show?
I didn't see that. I just saw the special. I didn't, because I knew people were talking about like something before and something after, and I didn't see that. It went.
I think they promoted it as like. I think they promoted it as something you could only see if you watch live. So the only thing I'll say, I didn't watch much of the yes, eventually, yeah, it's got to be, someone got it somewhere. But the only thing I'll say is the after show felt funny to me because it felt like when someone punches somebody and they fall down and then a bunch of bystanders jump the person. Because it really turned into like a fuck Will Smith moment. And I was like, that's interesting, because I know you fake ass niggas would never say this if Will was there. Like, y'all see Will Smith, y'all will pretend that it's cool, but it's like, because Chris finally said something, you can now be like, yeah, you know?
Yeah.
And because it was Dana Carvey and David Spade, who they mostly just said nothing. They knew they were white and they didn't want to.
They knew they lane.
Yeah, if anything, they were pulling back on jokes like, I'm good. But Arsenio Hall was there. Lots of dunking on Will.
Oh, that's why they were talking about Arsenio. I was so confused. I don't know what was going on when people were talking about it yesterday.
Yvonne Orji was there. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was there. And JB Smooth. The Kareem Abdul-Jabbar thing was funny because he has so much immense respect as a man of principle. None of his jokes landed because everyone was like, is it okay to laugh at this civil rights figure? Or should I bow and then exit the room? And JB Smooth was silly as shit, and he sounded like he was drunk. And then Yvonne Orji was basically just avoiding problems. She had a couple of jokes, but it was like, I don't want to say anything too bad, and I know Black Twitter is watching, so she tried to get in a couple like, I did think, he went hard on Meghan Markle, and I was like, yeah, she had to say something, because and then and then Arsenio was just being messy. He should have been the host though, because I think he was great as
Who was the host? Who was hosting?
Spade and Carvey.
Really? I mean, those are his boys. They go way back, so I guess.
But they really didn't say shit. They just were there. Like they literally every time a joke came up, there was one point where David Spade made one joke and it was like, well, stay tuned for Netflix. They're going to show G.I. Jane 2 after this. And then everybody in the crowd started getting tight, like, ooh. And he said, what? I went too far? You know what? I'm back out. I'm sorry, everybody. like the white people basically were just there to facilitate. So, all right.
Can I just say, can we, because I told you I wanted to talk about this. So I literally have alopecia. Literally. Yeah. And I was diagnosed right, like the pandemic was March of 2020, April. I was diagnosed because there was a lot of shit was going on. I was in the hospital. A lot of shit was going on. So part of like the autoimmune disease that I have, alopecia is a symptom of that. So I've got alopecia. It's a specific kind. So it's not like I still have my eyebrows and stuff like that and my eyelashes. It's like, I look like if I don't shave my head, I'm giving George Jefferson. Like there's like that. So there's that. So when people started to make this joke about it being alopecia, I didn't see it. I didn't feel it because Jada had gotten to the point where she was talking about it on national television and talking about it often. I'm not there yet. Like, this is the first time I've ever like spoken about it. I think I've tweeted like random things when I was looking for wigs, and because like somebody helped me. I don't know anything about wigs.
Right.
So for me, the fact that she was able to speak about it the way that she did, not to say that it shouldn't hurt or didn't bother her, but when you get to that point, that joke doesn't hurt. That joke isn't the thing that sets off your partner. So I didn't buy that immediately. I didn't buy that.
Well, you know, and honestly, as a woman that can speak for herself, as we all fucking know, many of you want her to shut the fuck up. I've seen you say
red table talk.
As a woman that speaks for herself, she said that she didn't want Will doing that.
Yeah,
that's good enough for me, dog. I don't need like y'all making her supposed trauma about you is the weirdest fucking stan culture bullshit I've ever seen. Like, y'all don't even really go up for her like that. This is all about you. So,
literally weeks leading up, they were like, I will pay money never to hear Jada Pinkett Smith say anything ever again.
Why do you keep talking?
Yes, every time the red table talk go on Facebook, not trying fun, I got to see posts about niggas talking about, bitch, shut the fuck up. You, your daughter, your grandma. We tired of y'all bitches, like every single fucking time.
Oh, that was funny though. When Rock was like, we've all been cheated on, but we've never interviewed.
Sat across from and being interviewed by the person that cheated on. So when I sucked that dick, how did it make you feel? That was so good.
I did like this.
That was so good.
That was funny to me.
I think also, and I promise I'm gonna wrap it up, but also that last 10 minutes is exactly why y'all never see me get mad. That is exactly why. Because you see the way that this man had kept a tally and was like, I'm finna eviscerate this nigga, and I don't give a fuck what side you were on. For that 10 minutes, that room was on his side. Period. Even when he said bitch with Jada Pinkett, they were laughing like, oh, he's going in. It wasn't
there was a clip of a woman in the audience who was like she was not upset. She was like,
yes. Like, and I'm afraid of that because I actually don't want that kind of support. And I know when I've done it before where I've gotten mad and I say enough shit that's funny and entertaining enough, people like, yes. And then I regret it later. Like, what the fuck? What is wrong with me?
Yeah.
And so that's a very intoxicating but scary vibe and feeling to that. And I think we saw that in Chris, and I'll be interested to see what he thinks years from now. But clearly, you know, in the immediacy of it, I'm sure he's fine.
I do wonder because it all felt like such an adrenaline fueled like 10 minutes. I do wonder like when he got alone for the first time after that, if he just kind of like how he felt about it or how he feels about it. I would love to know.
He looked kind of emotional to me at times.
He did.
Because
I think I'm soft. I think I'm soft, so I'm noticing this stuff and I don't want to say anything, but I thought he seemed emotional. Even when he dropped the mic at the end, I thought he was going to cry. I really did.
Me too.
I really thought he was going to cry.
And I was sure he wouldn't cry, but only because he thinks that would make him look weak.
Exactly.
I was like, the one thing keeping this man from falling apart in front of us, which is it's such a crazy thing to say. If he fell apart in front of everybody, that's when they chill out and embrace him.
Yeah, but he did though. Like when he dropped the mic and the camera followed him backstage, that was not I just killed it. Like that, there was something else going on. That walk backstage and they were like demicing him or whatever they were doing. Like it felt like something else.
Yeah, I guess what I'm saying. But to me, that's not falling apart. I like if he was like crying or something. Like if he did an interview and he cried about it. You'd see a lot of people, not all of them, obviously, these hate group people are crazy, but you'd see a lot of people who felt away be like, oh, that's right. He was just up there doing his job and he didn't ask for any of this. And he's obviously been emotionally hurt by all the shit that happened since, but he would never, I don't think he's ready to do some shit like that because he's fought his whole life to be seen as a man. Ever since he was little Chris Rock getting picked on. He's fought his whole life to get to this point, and bam, he got knocked down the stairs again, and this is how he's getting back to the top, you know.
And then it proved that everybody hates Chris to him. Like that title isn't like happenstance. Like I Yeah, I'm one thing that Think Pretty Smart said in the chat is that we're not supposed to know this much about celebrities, and we're not. We're not supposed to know. I think we're supposed to know towards the end of their celebrity when they write the book.
Right.
Then we know. But like in real time, we're not supposed to know all of this. And I think we're proving that we shouldn't know this because of the way that we process it. Because for me, so much of now is showing that anybody who has a little bit of fame or notoriety, positive or negative, whatever people have decided you are is who you are. So no amount of vulnerability, no amount of anything is going to change that. And I think that people need to make, and we talk about this too, Rod, like you need to make a decision how much you're going to reveal because of how much you're comfortable with people twisting whatever it is that you reveal.
It's just funny because the promise of all this social media and interaction, and it was supposed to work the opposite way. Like we were supposed to learn more about each other and see how much we were alike, and it's just not. It just has not worked that way.
Yeah, it hasn't. I've always believed, like since I learned the concept of like good versus evil, or at church when Sunday school, and they're like everybody's born in sin, and immediately I was like, that's not true. I feel like everybody is good, and then things happen that kind of like alter whatever level of goodness that they are. But I believe that people are ultimately good. This is what I believe.
Even if a baby bites people, I don't know. I don't know.
But I think that sorry, I don't mean to get too deep, but just really quickly, what we've talked about, I think that part of the problem that I've been having with social media is being forced to think that people aren't good. And that I think is I don't know whether other people will admit that, but I think that that's a lot of the issues that we have in that place, because the people who were looked as outliers back in the day are running the show now. So now the people who have like real empathy, not this like contrived hypervigilance or saying that they're empathetic, selective empathy or whatever.
Right.
The people who are truly empathetic, the people who are truly compassionate, the people who are truly about progress and making the world better or wanting things to be better for people are struggling, because the people who don't are the ones who are the loudest. They seem to be multiplying because they're pulling in people who don't seem to have like I don't want to say a mind of their own, but they're kind of just going on to get along. And if the good people, quote unquote, start getting loud, then they switch over to that side too. So
people want community, and whoever's running the community, that's where they go. So if the community is we all hate Chris Pratt, they're gonna run to they're gonna hate Chris Pratt too, because they need to be with people.
Yeah.
The average user on Twitter gets no one replying or liking their shit. So, what if you could talk about something though, and then people would like and retweet and do it, right? You do it. Well, what if that is the easiest way to do that is to be like, Chris Rock was never funny to me. And that's how you go full circle, guys.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, it is. And Basi was making me think when you were saying how we don't know a lot about celebrities. I was talking to Rod's mom, and I was telling her that I know that I am a complete outlier and a lot of it maybe because I'm older when it comes to social media. I have really gotten into audiobooks, and I have literally been going back and a bunch of famous people, comedians, singers, and I've been actually listening to like their audiobooks. I just finished Trevor Noah. And so, and this is like his first book. I don't know if he has a second one, but this is like his first book. And I was thinking, I was like, oh, he gonna make another book after the Daily Show. Like, it's definitely gonna be another book eventually about his life. And so I was going back to a lot of the stuff in that book I was literally hearing for the first time. And so for me, that's how I'm used to consuming shit. I was like, I don't need to follow you. I don't need to Instagram you. I don't need to know what's happening every day in your life. Like if something big happens and people talk about it, I'm there. But I don't need to know these intimate things and all these things that kind of happen in a normal day-to-day life. I just don't need to know it. And so, and I guess that's why I don't have these big swings when it's you do something that represents you, and you have to agree with me. And it's fuck. I don't deal with any of that. I'm like, you can be really a fucked up person, and I can still enjoy what you do. There are great people that do fucked up shit, y'all, that we consume and enjoy.
Yeah.
It's not really celebrities we know too much about. It's really each other, you know.
Agree.
Yeah. We didn't need to know each other's every thought.
Sorry, the R. Kelly Michael Jackson joke.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Bars. All right, y'all. I gotta wrap it up. I gotta get out of here. I'm working a lot of jobs, everybody. Make sure you check out Bossy. She actually wrote a book. Her book is called I'm Telling the Truth, But I'm Lying. And it's available everywhere. Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, IndieBound. We'll be back with more shows.
Real quick, if you follow me on Twitter, go look at my pinned tweet. I'm trying to send these boys to Barcelona in April. So if you could donate, that'd be great. Thanks. Bye.
Yes.
Tell them the Twitter.
Do that.
Oh, it's at Bossy World.
All right. Thank you.
And
Karen, go ahead.
And I listened to the audiobook, y'all, and I know we got the readers that read, but I'm telling y'all, get that audiobook because it is something spectacular about hearing Bossy's words.
Oh, my audiobook.
Yes, you. I'm talking about you, lady. You.
Trevor still?
No. I'm talking about you. It's nothing like hearing her words in her voice. And if you haven't listened, it's very moving because I was listening to it like, God damn, she's trying to make me cry while I'm punching up numbers and rolling through the tears, and I'm going through the emotional roller coaster with her. And it's a beautiful book. It really is. Yeah. So
all right, y'all. Make sure y'all do that. I'm trying to wrap it up for the 17th time. But we get to talking. Nobody cares about my time. It's fine. You know. It's
no.
I'll see you tomorrow, Ron, in real life.
You know, we start. How do we start this? Women be talking. Come on now, Ron. Don't act shocked and surprised.
All right, I gotta go. Until next time, I love you.
I love you too. Mwah.
Mwah.
I love both y'all.
Bye, everybody.
You too, baby.
You too,
bye.
See you tomorrow.